Welcome to La Gazette!
This is our podcast, This Month in Fashion, for the month of November 2020. Here, we'll tell you about the month's most important happenings in the world of fashion, beauty and luxury.
We'll let you know the top news of the industry so you can just put your headphones on and walk around, cook or whatever, and stay up to date with the latest in the industry.
Don't worry, if we talk about something you need to see, like a magazine cover or a campaign, we'll tell you to look at your phone if you can.
If you missed last month's episode, click here to listen. We really recommend it because we interviewed Rebecca Leffler, the girl who inspired the Emily in Paris character, so it's super interesting.
Okay, let's get started with our top story of the month. Turin, turin. With the real world in pause because of the pandemic, these days we are getting our dose of excitement mainly from Netflix series.
And you guessed it, we have to talk about The Crown. The fourth season of the series premiered on November 15th.
If you haven't watched, we recommend you to skip this part as we'll be talking spoilers. Go to the description and click on the timestamp to go to our next section.
The season focused on the time period between 1977 and 1990 and introduced the character we were all waiting to see. We're talking, of course, about Princess Diana.
It's a fact that this woman is one of the most important historical figures of the 20th century. But, as we're a fashion magazine, let's focus on that.
Throughout the show, the women portrayed have used their clothes as a tool for communicating and asserting their personalities. And this is especially the case with Diana.
The style of Princess Diana has been the object of countless magazine articles, TV shows and books, so it was one of the most anticipated elements of the series.
When we first meet Diana, she's only 16 and wearing a costume. The next time Prince Charles crosses her path, she's wearing yellow overalls. You can see the look on your screen right now.
Of course, this is meant to show how young she was at the time she started going out with the prince.
She then goes to Balmoral at the prince's invitation, and there she wears one of the most iconic looks of her pre-marriage days. This gorgeous multicolored sweater with little llamas on the side, and you can see it in your screen right now.
Her style changes with her engagement, and she starts wearing older-looking clothes, but often in bright monochrome colors, like her blue look for the announcement of the engagement.
And then there's the wedding. For me, it was honestly a bit disappointing that we saw so little of the wedding dress. And they said it was because everyone has already seen those images on YouTube or TV, but I would have loved to see some details and close-ups and to know more about that iconic moment.
Yes, in the series we only saw the back of the dress very briefly. It's incredible considering the amount of work that went into making this costume.
I know. And if you can look at your phone right now, we're going to play for you a little clip of the costume designer of this show talking about that dress.
Almost identical.
Yeah. Anyway, after the wedding, we see Diana's looks during her public appearances, in particular during the Australian royal tour.
A few years have passed and she has had Prince William, and there's a whole episode dedicated to her success down under.
Here, her looks are reproduced almost exactly from the original pictures, and again, they are mostly monochromatic, with her wearing the same color hat and shoes as that of her dress, or like complementary colors sometimes. Some looks are on your screen right now, so you can take a look.
Bright colors are worn by the queen so she can be easily spotted in a crowd by her subjects. We guess the same thinking went behind the planning of Princess Diana's looks.
Plus, we can't forget this was the beginning of the 80s, a decade unmistakable for its bright colors in fashion.
In the last few episodes, Diana starts wearing darker colors and bolder choices that are a stark contrast to her sweet and romantic looks from the start of the season.
This, of course, is meant to portray her growing maturity, but also the darkness in her private life. Her marriage at the end of the season in 1990 is worse than ever.
The last look we see is a black, double-breasted, backless dress she wears to the royal family Christmas celebrations, where we can see she feels like a complete outsider and she doesn't see that ending soon.
Of course, fans of the princess are especially looking forward to season 5 of the series, which it's speculated will cover from 1992 to 1997, a period that includes the divorce of the Princess of Wales and, of course, the tragic death of Lady Di.
The cast will change again, and this time an older Diana will be played by Australian actress Elizabeth Debicki.
Style-wise, we are looking forward to the evolution of Princess Diana's style, from trying to fit in the norms of the royal family to becoming her own woman, embracing her style, and wielding the power it gave her with her public.
She was undeniably one of the greatest style icons of the last century, and it's impressive to see how much her fashion choices still influence fashion today.
I think that because of the series, we'll see a revival of her looks in the streets. And if you want some inspiration, go to her Instagram at lagazette.mag, and we recently posted some looks that she wore and that will be the easiest to adapt to life today. What did you think of the series, Lucia? Did you finish watching?
Yes, I finished this season and I can't wait for the next season. But I felt so obsessed by her looks, and I Google every look and I want to see everything.
Me too. I remember when I was a kid that my mom was obsessed with her, and like obviously when you're like, I don't know, 5, you don't really understand it. And now I completely understand it. Like I would, if I was living in that time, I would just be imitating everything she did.
Yes, I think like I feel I understand my mother now. Her obsession.
Yeah, me too. Like I remember raiding her closet a few years ago and being like, why do you have these? Why do you have so many shirts and these mom pants and what is all of this? And now I realize everything is just a copy from Diana. But I mean, good for her. My mommy knew where to take her inspirations. I can't wait to see her 90s looks.
Me neither. Our next story is the US elections, more specifically their brand new Vice President, Kamala Harris.
The election took place on November 3rd, and the results were called by the networks on Saturday 7th. And that night, Harris took the stage to present President-elect Joe Biden.
Her words were very touching, but her clothes spoke as well. Kamala chose to wear a white pantsuit with a satin pussy bow blouse.
The pantsuit was Wes Gordon for Carolina Herrera, and the blouse she owned already.
The meaning of her look starts, of course, with its color. Historically, white is a color that has long been associated with the women's suffrage movement.
In her speech, she refers to them and to all women in history who have fought for equality and in whose shoulders she stood as the first woman vice president-elect.
The choice of brand was no accident either. Carolina Herrera is, as you may know, a Venezuelan immigrant.
And the pussy bow blouse, does it remind you of someone? Well, some say it is meant to evoke Margaret Thatcher and her assertion of female power in a male-dominated environment.
Finally, the pantsuit could be a nod to Hillary Clinton's so-called uniform.
In her more casual days, she has been seen wearing Converses a lot, which has also been seen as a departure for women in positions of power.
As a woman, it is undeniable that Kamala Harris' fashion choices will be more analyzed than those of her male counterparts. We think it's great she uses them as means to communicate as well.
Yes, I agree. For our next story, we come back to France to tell you about some good and exciting news.
Fashion designer Alber Elbaz is launching a new brand next January.
The Israeli designer became famous as creative director of Lanvin and is credited with the Maison's comeback at the beginning of this century.
The designer left his role in 2015, and there has been a lot of speculation about his next move.
In 2019, he signed a creative partnership with Swiss group Richemont, home of, among others, Cartier, Chloé, and Net-a-Porter.
Finally, it was announced this month that Elbaz will have a new prêt-à-porter brand named AZ Factory.
We still don't know much about it. We just know the first collection will be released in January, presumably during the dates of Men's Fashion Week in the middle of the month.
We're super excited about this announcement, along with the rest of the fashion industry. Alber Elbaz is one of the most beloved designers, so we're all rooting for his success.
Yay, go Alber! And now let's talk GucciFest.
But first, if you're enjoying this episode of This Month in Fashion, don't forget to give it a thumbs up.
And while you're down there, subscribe and activate the notifications bell to stay in the know and on top of the latest of the fashion industry.
Okay, back to Gucci.
Well, like many brands in this most uncertain year, the Italian brand left the official calendar and announced that it will present its future collection on their own time and form.
The time was 16 November and the form was 1 week digital film festival.
Alessandro Michele, the brand's creative director, wanted to make fashion on his own terms.
Each day's film was accompanied by shorts highlighting the work of 15 young designers, such as Ahluwalia, Jordan Luca, Colin Estrada, and Borami Vigir. They were all selected by Michele.
The 7 Gucci films themselves were co-directed by Michele and Gus Van Sant. And after the screening of each film, a couple of special guests, like Alexa Chung, for example, would analyze them.
The films featured known names such as Harry Styles, Billie Eilish, Florence Welch, and of course, Gucci-looking models and actors.
And the star of the film was Italian Silvia Calderoni, who we follow throughout the 7 installments of Overture of Something That Never Ended.
It's noteworthy that this collection doesn't have a seasonal label attached, which makes it the first not only to present outside the calendar, but outside the season system itself.
Also, many pieces of Michele's first collection were featured, and they are to be reissued as the designer's way of embracing atemporality.
I personally think it's super interesting to start presenting no seasonal clothes. I think it gives more freedom to the people. They are telling us that we can wear these pieces whenever we want and not on a specific period of time.
Yeah, of course, especially nowadays when the season calendar really didn't make any sense, like you had the spring collection arriving to the boutiques in January when it was freezing and things like that. So maybe now with just atemporal clothes that will be more close to a designer's creativity, give them more freedom and give the clients what they actually need in the season that they are buying.
I agree. Finally, in top news, this month we got some good news.
Emily in Paris has been confirmed for a second season, so we'll be following the adventures of that American in Paris for a while more.
If you missed last month's podcast episode, we recommend you to go check it out right after this one, because we interviewed the real Emily in Paris.
Rebecca Leffler is a New Yorker who lives in Paris and whose life as an expat actually inspired the character of the series, so definitely go check that out right after this video.
And now our trend of the month.
The trend that we want to talk about this month is homeware. Just so you know, we will be discussing the fashion trends from the winter runways in depth in our next video, so stay tuned for that.
With the pandemic forcing us to spend more time than ever inside our homes, it's no surprise that fashion and luxury brands are adapting their offers accordingly.
We are seeing two parts of these trends. First and most evident perhaps is a huge boom of comfortable clothes. Less people than ever are putting on a suit and going to the office, but we still want to change out of our pajamas.
The solution comes in the form of comfortable collections designed specially to be worn at home, such as the capsule #Chez Moi by Dior or the chic at home category on Net-a-Porter.
Yeah, personally, I cannot wear jeans anymore at home because I spend so much time sitting down, but I don't want to be in jogging pants, It's nice to have a nice in-between, so obviously brands thought of this.
Yes, me too. I wanted to start my days as I did in 2019, but of course I tend to wear more comfortable clothes, so I think this is a good idea.
And on the other hand, as we are staying in our homes more than ever, it's no surprise that there's a huge interior decoration boom going on.
Many fashion brands are launching or expanding their home decor lines.
Our favorite examples of these are the Loewe candles you can see in your screen right now.
And of course, the Dior beautiful table sets, inspired by their cruise collection in Puglia.
Brands such as Hermes, Gucci, and Versace that already had a home collection are now, of course, expanding it, and we're sure more brands will focus on decoration as interest to make our homes more Instagrammable grows.
And now off to our media section. We couldn't wait to tell you all about one of the most viral media happenings of the month.
We're sure you got a chance to see some of it on your social media, but in case you made a digital detox this month and missed it, here it is.
We're talking, of course, about the Harry Styles cover story for the December issue of American Vogue.
Yeah, it was so pretty. This cover, which of course you can see on your screen right now, was shot by Tyler Mitchell, who is best known for shooting Beyoncé for her Vogue cover.
He's only 25 years old and became very famous after this cover because at the time he was the first black photographer to ever shoot a Vogue cover.
This was, of course, very controversial at the time because people were surprised to learn that in more than 100 years of history that there hadn't been a black photographer shooting the cover. But we're glad it finally happened, and we're happy to see him once more shoot a cover.
Harry Styles has had his share of controversy around this cover because not only he's the first man to appear solo on a Vogue cover, but also he's wearing a dress.
The dress and the jacket it was styled with are both, of course, signed Gucci, and the stylist of this shoot was Harry Lambert, Harry Styles' stylist. That's a mouthful.
Apparently, the issue is sold out everywhere, and Condé Nast has had to order a reprint, which is unheard of these days.
And not only that, but the cover gained the magazine 40,000 subscriptions.
While of course One Direction and Harry Styles fans love the cover and supported their idol, it's undeniable that a man in a dress was still something shocking for some conservative personalities in the US, who deem it inappropriate.
But Harry Styles takes it much lighter. He says, and I quote, "I'll go in shops sometimes and I just find myself looking at the women's clothes, thinking they're amazing. It's like anything. Anytime you're putting up barriers in your own life, you're just limiting yourself. There's so much joy to be had in playing with clothes." And I think this attitude is exactly what we need right now, something light and joyful.
I remember doing some genderless editorials while I was studying in a fashion school, and I remember men model agencies that didn't let me book their models because I wanted to dress them in dresses and skirts. So
Wow.
I'm super happy that at least Vogue did something about it. And not only Vogue, but Harry Lambert, his stylist, did something about it. I think it's a step forward.
I think I don't think Vogue is one of the most, shall we say, like forward-thinking magazines. So the fact that they're doing it, it means that it's finally going more mainstream, maybe, like this acceptance of gender fluidity.
Yes, of course. I think I was like inspired by other magazines than Vogue at the time, and now also, you know, we get inspiration from everywhere.
Yeah. In any case, I think it was a great move from both Vogue and Harry Styles because it has created so much buzz, and of course most of it is positive, and I think it's just a nice step forward.
It's becoming mainstream now.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful image.
Of course.
Okay, finally, our business section.
The streetwear brand Supreme has been sold to VF Corporation at $2.1 billion.
BF Corporation already owns streetwear brands such as Vans and Timberland.
The hope for the corporation is to double Supreme's sales to make it to go 1 billion a year.
Personally, I think there is a huge risk that aura of exclusivity and hard-to-get pieces will disappear and that the Supreme brand will become commonplace.
Yes, I think it's interesting to see how it will play out.
Well, that's it for this month in fashion, guys, for the month of November 2020.
If you're still listening, you probably like this video, so don't forget to give us a thumbs up and share this content with anyone you think might find it interesting.
Also, subscribe to our channel and hit the notifications bell to be among the first to watch our winter trends video.
Thanks for listening and see you soon at La Gazette.
Bye!